Godfathers of Podcasting. Now, in case y'all didn't know, they've been podcasting since before podcasting was even called podcasting. Archives of this show are available on every major podcast provider, and you can find video archives, merch, and more on their website, godfathersofpodcasting.com. Now, here are your hosts, two guys who have been broadcasting online since 1996, the Godfathers of Podcasting themselves, Donnie DeSilva and Chris Tidwell.
Hello. It is Thursday, February 22nd. I'm Donnie. Y'all know that, right? Unless it's your first time tuning in which case, hi, I'm Donnie. And the man next to me is my brother who don't talk to my mother. We go together like jail and cops, like high school and jocks, like karate and chops. That's Notorious TID, Chris Tidwell. What up, Tid?
Jail and cops?
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever watch the show?
I'm familiar with both.
Well, I was just going to say, did you ever watch the show? Were you a heavy watcher of the show Cops?
You mean like Bad Boys?
Yeah, when it was
Of
on.
course.
I knew a couple of the guys that were on there, actually.
Sure you did. The fellas.
No.
The cops.
No, the cops. Because you got to remember, my uncle was a Vegas cop, right? So I did actually know some of those Vegas episodes. It was kind of funny. But yeah, I might have known some of the other guys.
Was your uncle the one that told you to leave Vegas and not come back?
No, that was a judge.
Right.
That was an actual judge who was like, yo, it'd probably be in y'all's best interest to get the hell up out of my city. I was like, all right.
How's your week been, my man?
Busier than a 3-pecker billy goat. I'll tell you that much. How about you? I mean, it's been crazy what's going on out there right now, right? Like you've got guys that I want to get into this later. You got guys like Donald Trump is coming out with his own shoe line. You heard about this craziness, right? Yeah. Madam Web, this movie, is that a DC or a Marvel thing?
Marvel, but it's dog shit.
This is what I'm saying, like the lowest rating of any Marvel movie ever, right?
Well, it's not Marvel Studios, so I mean, yeah, whatever, yeah.
And the biggest thing of them all is that apparently The Rock is a freaking heel now. The world is upside down, Donnie.
I love that. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can get into all of this stuff with our guests later.
And we will. I want to mention very quickly.
Yeah.
Here's my big news for the week.
Can I just say before you get into that?
Please.
Beard is looking luscious.
Well, thank you. I was gonna say,
I know you were.
This is actually, I think, the longest I have ever managed to grow my beard without trimming because the itch was driving me bananas. And that's thanks to the beard oil from baronialbeard.com. Listen, I'm not even playing. A few weeks ago, when Baronial offered us the opportunity to work with them, and I said, yeah, sure, man, we'll plug your products. I was like, yeah, man, it's a cool product, smells nice, whatever. Now I'm actually a true believer. Like, by the time I get to this stage, Tid, I'm always reaching for the clipper, like, I gotta take it down just a little bit. I gotta take it. Now I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna grow this shit out. I'm gonna get that thing down to Tid levels, man. It's coming.
All right. I can't wait to see that. Then you can get it long enough and bushy enough that you can comb it up over your face and cover it with your hat, put on some glasses, look like Cousin It. The world will be a better place.
You'd love that. Go to baronialbeard.com. You can get their beard balms. You can get their beard butters.
Yeah.
You can get their beard oils. They've got soaps. They've got all sorts of products. None of their stuff is greasy, oily, natural ingredients. It's top of the line stuff. Go to baronialbeard.com.
I can't wait to see what you look like with a full Grizzly Adams beard.
It's just gonna be like marvelous. And
will you get a specific brush for it too that you only use on your beard?
I've already got one.
Yeah, you do. Atta boy. Called it.
Asshole, you've known me for almost 30 years. You know whenever I'm doing something, if there's an accessory I can buy on Amazon, I'm gonna buy it.
It's amazing. That is
Like,
simply amazing.
yeah, it's a little silicone brush, and you just
Uh-huh.
you exfoliate your shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep it looking all right.
All right. All right. Tremendous.
This guy putting me on blast, putting my putting my self care routine on blast. You know what? Let's shift gears real quick
Let's do this.
because we have our guest sitting backstage, ladies and gentlemen. It is time right now for the big hello. This man, he burst onto the Canadian music scene in the mid 90s and quickly became a pivotal artist, recognized for his smooth flow, compelling lyricism, and ability to blend that traditional New York sound with pure Toronto vibes. His debut album, Ice Cold, dropped in '99 and became an instant thread in the tapestry of Canadian hip hop. Since Ice Cold, he's dropped a bunch of albums and a ton of singles, and along the way, he's won a couple Junos, and he's been nominated for a bunch more. Of course, everyone will forever associate him with the Canadian hip hop anthem, where he collabed with Rascals, Checkmate, Cardinal, and Thrust, and he was coming down with the Northern Touch, baby. And I've told this story before on the show. When I was in high school dating a girl that went to JP2, and she was telling me that this man was shooting his shot, I was like, oh, damn. We have the same taste. Folks, I may not have the talent of Rodala, DJ Supreme, KC Thomas, YOK, Black Cat, Danny O, or this man, but I am officially asking and auditioning to be considered as the 8th Deadly Venom. Ladies and gentlemen, he watched Raw with Dan, and you know he saw Flair. Maybe back in the day it was B. Brian Blair, but now chill and get ready for this man to share. He's got talent and bars, them skills are rare. You could try come test, but don't you dare. If you want to battle him, you don't have a prayer. Sit your ass down, boy, take a damn chair. Everybody knows from here to Times Square. His sound infects your brain like fucking spyware. Let's Ride had me bopping since time, I swear. Give it up to the knocker, the chiz rocker. This is Choclair.
Hey, that was tough. Hey, what's up, y'all? How you guys doing? No, I wasn't expecting that. That's for sure.
Nobody does.
Oh, that was real cool. That was cool. How you guys doing, man? It's been a minute since I've talked to you guys last.
Yes, man.
It's been a minute, yeah. Like episode 9 was the last time you were on, like 3 years ago or something like that. Almost 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah. And we're at 170 right now, so holy.
Yeah, dude, we just keep piling them up, you know?
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. It's really good. It's great to be back on. It's great to be back on.
All right, so listen, you're a professional. I'm a hack. I'll take your critique. With those terrible bars I just dropped, how far away am I from being the 8th Deadly Venom?
Well, you know what? Maybe the you know, like they have the guy that comes out right before Johnny Carson.
That's a warm up.
I'll do it.
The guy that. Oh, so what you're saying? You're about Donnie. I'll work it out for you. Out of the 8, you're like you're caller number 23. If you'd like to push a button, they'll get back to you if you don't want to wait on hold. How about that?
Yeah. You'll get your call back. Just don't wait on the phone.
The joke of it is, earlier today, I was talking with our bro, Danny O, and I said, hey, man, we got Shocks coming on the show tonight. You've known the guy forever and ever. You got any sort of like inside stuff I can throw at him that'll catch him off guard? And he goes, yeah, tons, but nothing you can say publicly. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes, actually, you could drop on him the 7 Deadly Venoms because I don't think that name of that crew ever went public.
Yeah, no, it kind of just stayed among us because, yeah, when we went on the Beat Factory tour with Wylook, Black Cat, IRS, YLK, Danny O,
YLK, Black Cat,
Danny O, and all of us, we went on the Beat Factory tour, and it was just 7 of us, and we were all just starting. This got to be 96, just one of them long white vans with 11 seats in them, you know, just in the middle of winter. You know, just kind of on our first tour ever, all of us going outside of like, you know, going at least to like Oshawa or Pickering or Brampton or Markham or something like that. So it was good. We just connected all throughout the tour. We all had cool because we were all from Scarborough, so we kind of all had the same kind of Scarborough vibes and everything like that. We just call ourselves the seven deadly venoms, and we had the handshake and everything, and we still do it. We still do it today when we see like it's like our own little thing because we all went on the road together for the very first time, and that's where the seven deadly venoms came up from.
I said to Dan, I go, if I mention seven deadly venoms, is Choclair going to know what I'm talking about? Or is this one of those things that only you remember? And he goes, Guy, he still does the handshake.
Yeah. I still do the handshake. Whatever I say, I was like, yeah, we do it, man. We do it. That was a big time because we just learned so much, and it was just it was such a learning experience, and it was also a great kind of, you know, like we're still cool from all these years now. So it was like great bonding with everybody else, and especially coming up in the industry that, you know, that wasn't getting a lot of attention except for a little bit, and we had to go and muscle our way through it. So we were all muscling our way through it at the same time. So it was really cool. That's where seven deadly venoms came up with. Yeah.
There's nothing that makes me feel whiter than when I'm hanging out with Dan and members of the Mighty Monolith and their crew and their friends, and every single, it could be 20, 30 guys deep. Every single guy, when they see each other, they got their own personalized handshake. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm just like, and then they see, yo, what's up, Donnie? And then they just, you know, I get a little bit of dap, or maybe I'll get like a, you know, like a little gun finger thing, and that's it. And I'm like, yeah, that's all I can remember. Okay. I can't do the choreography. So
Did you ever see there was that I think it was called Keel and Peele, and it was like Obama was walking into the room and how he would say hi to like Colin Powell and someone else, and then you see like the George Bush was like, how you doing, sir? How you doing, sir? So it's a funny one. Yeah, they had their own shakes and everything like that. That's funny. He mentioned that. I was just watching that actually a couple of days ago. That one episode.
Tid, we should create our own secret handshake, Tid.
Yeah, let's do that online.
Yeah, so, yeah. Now everybody's going to be doing that. Hey, remember this? I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Let me ask you something. When you look at the state of music right now, especially, let's just focus and drill down Canadian music, right? Whether it's hip hop or beyond. Do you look like a proud father?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's definitely, you know, because a lot of actually, I just did this. I was like a private party up in Kingston last Saturday. It was like how they do the tiny desk things. But it was just one of these private things. About 50 people coming in. You come in, you get a bottle of wine and cheese and, you know, stuff like that. And then when I would perform, then mostly it's kind of like, you know, like young entrepreneurs or people who, you know, they're in their 40s and stuff like that, and they grew up on hip hop and everything. And yeah, they always. Oh, I remember seeing you at Queen's University or back over in, you know, at this one Western or over here or Victoria, BC, and they're all like either doing music themselves or their little brothers doing it or whichever. And, you know, so it's good because they kind of got motivation just watching how that was growing into their own thing that they were doing, whatever they ended up becoming, accountants, lawyers, this, that, and the others. But then you got like the kids that I think slowly now there was like a moment where it was like, they're just old heads. Like we got the flavor now, you know, type thing where I think it's slowly getting like, no, you got to know who these people are. Like I think just last weekend, Maestro performed at the Leaf game, you know, like to do stuff like that, and everybody knows his name, like Cheers, you know. So those are the kind of things. So it's good to see now people kind of giving them the history of how it all came around. And a couple of years ago, I think we did the OVO Fest, the Northern Touch one, where Drake brought up all the guys, everybody, like all the us 90s guys and everything, and the early 2000s and stuff. And people came because it was Drake and may not have known who I was, but he was like, you need to know who this is, you know. And it's especially for like Drake fans, you know, like he talks and everybody's ears opening and listening. He's like, nah, if you don't know, and he ran down the list of like, I forgot some of the ones that he was bringing up, but he would bring up like Two Black Guys and 100 Miles and, you know, Jellystone and Rumbling Strong and, you know, like just all these different groups from back then. So that was good to see. And when they mention your name, it's good because you're just like, yeah, you know, it's like Roman Reigns right now. It's like, acknowledge me. You know what I mean? And when they do, it feels like it's a good thing. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of that I was going to just say, do you think a lot of that has to do with the fact that like y'all were there at that peak of when you had things like Much Music, right? You had a nationwide platform that was able to help your brand grow. It was like timing couldn't have been any better. You know what I mean? Because really music was popping off. Clubs were opening up, bigger clubs. You know, it wasn't underground stuff that was playing your music. It was big clubs in Toronto are bumping your songs now, and big clubs in Vancouver because they have that. And then all of a sudden all that went away. Is that, do you think that like the music of today in the Toronto scene doesn't get that kind of pub because there isn't that national outlet the way that there was?
Well, that's an interesting point, because that could be it, because when Much Music was, and if you had BET and MTV back when they were playing videos, that's pretty much where you got it, right? Like you know, like a lot of people that were like me would go and get home or push record, or when they start having record buttons and you could set the timer on your VHS to go and record 4 o'clock when Rap City came on, because with the exception of college radio and a very, very few commercial stations, you wouldn't hear the music anywhere. So it got nationalized in that way, because if you liked hip hop at all, you were watching Much Music, everybody would see that same episode of Rap City or Extendamix or Soul in the City, or just that random time they played a hip hop song that was like in the top 10 at the time. Whereas, so everybody got to know us like that. Where nowadays, when that all kind of changed and it was the internet, it was like you could just hit pockets, you know, and it's scattered. Like there's artists out there that have like 6 million views and you never even heard of them, you know, and stuff like that. Like, so, but they could have just gone through their own type of way, like, you know, or even over in England or over in somewhere in the continent of Africa, those artists. And we don't hear them because there's not that same streamlining of things. It's like almost pockets. And then one thing that's funny, that I was talking to one of the music directors, one of the radio stations, and I was like, I was going to put out a new song. I was like, hey man, you know, yo, can you give this a listen and let me know what you think? Maybe get it in a thing. And then he literally told me, he was like, man, unfortunately with radio now, like we don't break music. We just look for what's hot and we play it. You know, and so that's where it's kind of like, because then if you get on a Virgin, and I'm not saying it was Virgin or anybody necessarily pointing fingers at anybody, but I know they're national and syndicated. So if you can get on a Virgin Toronto, you can probably get the same one in Vancouver and London and here, there, and there, depending on whatever, all these different things. So, but that's also a problem too, because I remember listening to Buffalo radio station. They'll be like, first time to play the brand new Biggie. Nobody's ever saying first time to play this anymore, you know? They're just like, we just play it. Like it's hot it's got views.
Yeah, you've heard it 20,000 times on your TikTok feed before, and then eventually you hear it on the radio and like, oh, that's that song.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know, by the time it's on radio, the kids think it's old.
Yeah, exactly.
But the joke of it is, back in the day, right? Like for example, when you dropped Ice Cold, like the A&R record reps, they were hustling and they were like chatting up the radio stations like, yo, you got to drop this new thing. Or they're making side deals like, hey, you got to make sure you play this. This guy's going to be big. The song's going to be a summer banger or whatever, right? They're making all those kind of side deals.
That's because they had to work. They had to work. They had these divisions, and then you had and that was, I guess you could say, part of the good old days of the music industry, is because then you'd have like people coming up that were ahead of departments, you know, and that lived in lived hip hop, and they were like a part of the urban radio, you know, so they felt like they had love doing it because they're like, I really like this song. I want to go and do it. You know, and then they had street teams, and then they still had to report to the boss because everybody wanted that job, you know, you know, like someone like Big C, like he came all the way up through, you know, Craig Mannix, like he came all the way up through. A lot of those guys, Ice came all the way up through. And then even, it's funny because the president of Universal Music Canada, I went to high school with, we did talent shows together, and he was my radio guy when I was at Virgin. So like,
he's from JP too?
Yeah, he was, Jeff Remedius. Yeah. And he came all the way up through. So, and we all kind of came up at the same time. So we were all fighting for the same thing. We all loved music. We all thought it should be getting played more. It should be, people should pay it more attention, acknowledge it more. And so we all had this passion to go put it in there, put that work in. Street teams would go in there. I remember the record companies had to have budgets because they had to clean off stickers and all these board wraps because they went insane with things that they were doing because everybody had this passion and love. And it was work to do it. Now it got easier because now you just upload and, buy a few views off like YouTube and just get the ticker rolling. And then all of a sudden you start, you get all these views. It's crazy because some people be like, how come this guy got 10 million views and nobody knows his song? It's like,
and you know what? That's part of the struggle, right? Because back in the day, I remember talking to artists and they would hate their label or hate their A&R rep because it's like, this guy's not pushing me enough. They should be doing more for me. Now, theoretically, an artist has ultimate control, right? They can record, produce, master their own shit. They can put it online, but then it's lost. There's just a sea of content. There's an
right.
ever-growing ocean of content. And it's like, how the hell do you stand out? How do you drive eyes and ears to your sound?
A lot of times it's
crazy.
It comes down to, like you're saying, but it comes down really to dollars, because now it's like, if you try to get a new shoe into Foot Locker, look what your space zone is going to be. You're going to be like up in the top left corner at the back of the store, and all the Jordans, all the Adidas, all the Nikes, all the Pumas are all going to be everywhere else. So if you can't get to that front part of the store or have put up two big neon lights pointing, check this shoe here, like in the back corner of the store, that's kind of where you get lost. And a lot of times people just, through friends and family or just through their own hustle, they can go and put down, like, do their record because they have their studio or their friend has their studio, but then they can go and put like $5,000 on their YouTube advertisements, and that stirs their spins or their Spotify's or their this, like that's pretty much like, it's almost like, you can hate it or love it, but it's the way that it works. It's
that's the new street level. Like when you had A&R guys and their street teams going out and doing that to get it over, that was before YouTube, that was before Spotify, all of that. So now that's come along. It was probably, I couldn't tell you who it was, but I'm sure that there was a very small handful of artists out there who were the first ones to figure out, listen, I'm not getting signed by a label. I don't have the money to put my own stuff, but there's this internet thing going on, and maybe I can just use that to be friends with people on MySpace, or, then Facebook comes around and they start marketing themselves this way. And then more people figure it out. And then more companies start making tools for the artists to be able to do that. Now you don't need the street team anymore. Right. You don't need that A&R guy, and the artist is, has that much more control. Yes, but man, it's a sea out there.
Yeah, it's just because if you would take the resources from having a street team, making all the posters, and having the person to go and run that division, and now you just take that. Now that's the only problem sometimes, because some people don't have those resources. That's why they would sign with a record company and go, and the record company pays for everything, but then they take a lot from you. But if you could raise that kind of initial jump off fund, because you would need to do that. You don't have to mail out records. You just email everybody. Like, we had to ship records, and shipping, you pay for the vinyl, pay for the jacket, then pay for the shipping. 2 copies to how many DJs all around the world? You know what I mean? Like, so, so I prefer, like, I don't mind the advertising. I just don't like the spin so much, like when they buy the views. But like, if you go and do boosts to go and put, like, say you advertise on like Instagram and direct them to wherever your stuff is, then you can, because then people go when they're interested, rather than it just pops up every 2 seconds in someone's square for 5 seconds, and then it's a view or something like that, and then you
got to manipulate that algorithm.
Yeah. So, but hey, how it works is how it works. And, I can't hate anybody for doing it, because I had people mail my records out. So
it makes me think, like, I heard an interview the other day with the singer Jewel, And her story is well publicized, but if anyone doesn't know it, in a nutshell, she was homeless, living in her car, ready to give up on the music industry. And she was living in San Diego. And at the time, a lot of hot uh, alternative rock bands were getting signed out of San Diego. And so she was playing coffee shops, right? This folk singer, right around the time that you dropped your first album. And she's singing in coffee shops, and they're charging her money to perform. They're
Mhm.
like, a lot of labels come and watch, so you're probably going to get signed, so you got to pay us. And she's like, the place is packed. You guys are making money, and I'm paying you $100 for the right to perform. So she ended up going to this coffee shop that was about to go out of business and said, "Can you stay open one more month?" And the lady's like, "I guess so." And she would make up flyers by hand, walk down to the beach, hand them out. 2 or 3 guys would show up because they thought maybe they were going to get with her that night. And then eventually she's selling out. And then all of a sudden, the local radio station goes, "Holy shit, this song is unbelievable." They play it. She's a success.
Yeah,
You know, she
yeah.
goes from living in her car to signing $1 million record deal. And it's like, that story can't happen anymore. Right?
Yeah, well, it not like that, not with the coffee
No.
shop, because now there people would just go online and do the set up an account somewhere and just like here, like I live in St. Thomas and out here, and once people realized that I was out here living in St. Thomas, they were like, now I'm in the what's happening St. Thomas Facebook whatever page.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like they'll have a picture of me wearing a jumbo or something, and I'll be like, hey, because my friend Malachi, he started it in St. Thomas. So, and they actually have a jumbo elephant. Story is that they killed the elephant by accident with a locomotive back in like 1909. So that's if you look it up on the thing, what's the elephant mean in St. Thomas, they'll tell you the story. So that's like
That's
so
so
we
cool.
so we make it global, we make jumbo global, but it was started here, and and now when they see pictures of me wearing it online, I'm in like the St. Thomas Times or My FM, that because one's right across the street from me, and then all this other stuff. So yeah, like but so in that aspect maybe, but yeah, you just gotta do your promo, whatever's gonna work for you, because at the end of the day, what's gonna stand out is the song. I was talking to someone the other day about it, and they're like, they're talking, when I was in Kingston, like, it's just like that song, like Let's Ride, like, like that song, it just stands the test of time. I can listen to it from then till now. And it was like, because a lot of times some songs you hear and you hype for a moment and then you forget that it was even around. So yeah.
You mentioned something earlier that I wanted to piggyback on, and I know you're a wrestling fan, and we could talk about wrestling, right? But before we do, I wanted to say, you mentioned about Roman Reigns, and you were saying, Drake was cool enough to sort of give you guys the rub and be like, "Hey, young fans, this guy is important, right? He's important to the scene." My question for you is, do you feel like younger hip hop fans, those Gen Z kids, do you feel like they know who you are? Do you feel they're familiar with your catalog? Or is it something like, yeah, I only know what's current and what's now?
I think for the most part, they would have heard of me. Most of them too, also their parents, if they're still into hip hop, they would have told them about me.
Right.
And especially if they're into music and rap music, they would have at least checked me out one or two, and they could be like, "Oh, well, I like this song, maybe not that song, or I like his newer stuff, or I really like his old stuff, or something like that." So I think it's not there yet. Like, it's not like how when we look back at like the Big Daddy Kanes, the MOPs and the Mobb Deeps and stuff, Wu-Tangs, we're like, yo, yeah, those guys. Like if somebody said something bad about like Wu-Tang, you'd be like, yo, like Wu-Tang didn't do nothing for hip hop. You'd be like, dude, come on, like
Sit all the way down.
yeah, And that's the funny thing with hip hop too, is that there was that one guy, I forget who it was, but he was on some show, and he was talking about how he doesn't rate Biggie, he doesn't rate Pac, and he doesn't rate, like, he's like, oh, those guys are. And the one thing that stuck out to me is I was like, you never would hear that, like in rock and roll, somebody say, oh, well, yeah, yeah, Van Halen, yeah, he sucked, or Led Zeppelin, like, who cares? Like, nobody would say who cares to Jimi Hendrix. But you could say, who cares to like Run DMC? Like, oh, that's all. And next thing you know, they're like Maestro told me a thing. He's like, always count the years in tens, count the years in tens, because everything comes back in tens. So 99 was ice cold, and then 2009 things were picked up a really lot against for me. 1999 I started getting into clothing, and music was starting to come out again. I was shooting videos again, and then like I know it's not an actual full 9 or full 10, sorry, but yeah, and then things are just like, it almost like you get a lull, and then all of a sudden 10-year period.
Yeah.
You know, because Maestro's in like his 30th, maybe close to his 40th year, 30th year. And look, now he's got Lincoln car commercials. He's got his own TV show. He has his own radio show. He's doing songs he got his own book, children's book. He's nominated for a Kids Juno Award. Like, you know what I mean?
I know.
And all this thing, and you would think from 89 all the way up to now, and he's still there, and you know, and he's still relevant. People maybe the newer kids might only really know the Backbone Slide song, but his history makes them know, and the way that he is makes people be like, yeah, I know the Backbone Slide, but like I see him around, it's cool, like, he seems cool, and I see him, I meet him, type thing.
It's interesting. Sorry, I was just gonna say it's interesting because when we were younger, if you're really into something, whether it was music, sports, movies, whatever the fuck it was, you didn't just love that moment of that thing. I remember being a young kid loving baseball, and I went out and bought a baseball almanac, and I was reading about the first World Series, bro. I was reading about the Black Sox scandal. I was learning about Babe Ruth. I was learning about all these guys because that's the way my brain worked. And it's like these kids today that have ridiculous resources at their fingertips, they're just like, nah.
It's the time span, because remember, when I was DJing back in the day, I had the Belle Biv DeVoe Poison 12-inch single that had 3 different versions. On the other side had the 11-minute, I don't know, like 5 of the songs were like all instrumentals, and they would just do little zip da 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 da, and it was like 11 minutes long. Like you could go and sit there, go put on a coffee, make a bagel, come back, and the song's still playing. That's how long it was. But we would sit there and listen to the whole thing and read the back of the record jackets, and like you said, go through the history of it. And songs were 3 minutes long, and a really cool one was 5.5. Now, and I catch myself doing it too. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh man, like it's like, I don't know, it could be like fails of the week or something like that, and I'll be like, but it's 13 minutes long though. Unless I'm like lying in bed and just watching TV, and I just like, just put something on, or I'm just sitting there, having a bag of chips or something like that. Because then but like if I'm just trying to zim through quick things on the thing, but that's what it is. It's like the time span is so small. So, that's why the history is not there. If they could learn it all in 5 and 10 minutes, like when you see these things on the YouTube and it says all about the Vietnam War in 10 minutes animated, like, because you got to get them all like right there, That's
cartoon.
Yeah, just get them there. But I think that's the reason why they don't get their history, because everything's programmed to be right at you, at your fingertips. Get it. You want to learn a recipe, put it up 3 minutes long. Just tell me what to put in there and how long to put it in for. But you don't show me how to whip it and stuff like that and everything like that,
Social media has turned us into a whole planet of ADHD people. Tid, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's quite all right. I mean, listen, you don't have to, it's got to the point, I think, that you don't even have to have schools anymore. Like, do you have to be smart other than like just, learning how to hang out with people? Because if you have a question, you don't ask anybody, you just go to Google. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But it wasn't always that way. And I wanted to find out, I want to pick your brain a little bit. When you were younger and you were coming up, who were the guys that you looked to, and who did you ask for advice? Like, who is your mentors coming up in the music industry?
Oh man, in the music industry, it would be, at first it was like, just, I don't know if I asked for advice as much as we were like-minded. We were all into rap. Some of us were good, some of us wasn't. and we were also breakdancing at the same time. So we were all like-minded, and we bounce ideas off each other, like, oh, like freestyle. And somebody be like, like, yeah, that one, make sure you keep that one, and stuff like that. So you do that. Once I got out of and started getting into it on a more of a professional industry level, like the first person I met in the industry level was Socks. That was because his friend, well, I knew Ro Dollar before because we went to the same high school, but like outside of me knowing Ro and in the same high school was Socks. He had his first single out at that time, They're Still Caught Up, and I think it's Tuesday. It came out from the Play the Record, Eugene over there, Stepping Bigger record.
Eugene.
Yeah.
Eugene.
Yeah, came out with them. And then my friend Ramon, I went to school with Ramon, but he lived on the same street that Socks lived on. And he knew that I was doing rap because I was doing talent shows in my school and stuff. And I was like, yo, that guy Socrates is playing on 88.1 right? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, he's my neighbor. If you want, I can link you up and whatever. And he was just starting, but he had a record out, and that was what we all wanted. Like that's like 93 or something. So he was like, yo, he has a record out, especially being from Canada, and it sounds good, and and everything like that. So yeah, so I would learn a lot from him because he was already recording, and me and him would go to the studio together. Like we would drive together. I'd either drive or he would either drive, and we just became friends over time. At first, I was paying him, I don't know, like $200 a beat or something like that. Just to go and we go to the studio and then we'd go there and record for like 4 hours. We only have 4 hours. It wasn't like we can go in there and just spend time and sit there and talk and whatever. It was like go in there, record. We record 4 hours. It would cost me $30 an hour. I think it was $20 an hour actually. Yeah, I think it was like 20.
I love that game.
$20 an hour. Yeah. So then I would just learn off him because he was already doing it. Then through him, I met Cardi and Julie. Julie was a singer, and we were all trying to do our music at the exact same time. And so we really just learned off each other. And as my popularity grew, they would kind of learn off me because I was doing things that they were aspiring to do as well. And plus, and then as Cardi was going, people, Solitaire would learn, and Ro was always in the mix with everybody. And then I started meeting the Maestros and Michi Me's and people like that. Then I would sit down with them. Maestro once told me I went and I did a show quite a few years back, and I didn't do Let's Ride. Maestro was like, "Did you do Let's Ride?" I was like, "No, I thought people were, I thought they're gonna be tired of that song." And I do it all the time, every time. He's like, "You always do your hit, no matter what, because there's somebody out there that's gonna be." That's like, oh, I hope he does this. I hope it was going to be more than the one person that's going to think that. And that's one of the lessons I've always learned. And he's also always said, like, don't just make music, make history. And then that's one thing. I was like, okay, I can make a good song, but how am I want to make a song that people will remember, like the Rubbins, the Skylines, the Made to Move Mountains, the Let's Rides, the Skunks, like those type of songs where people are like, it gives an emotion, food for your soul. These are all these things that all these people that I met that were in and out of my life as it was coming up. These are all things people used to tell me, and that still sticks with me till day one. Since day one.
What's funny is just before COVID, okay, like December 2019, I went with our bro Danny-O down to the Royal Ontario Museum for a very small, intimate, and interactive concert put on by Maestro. And so it's like, it's kind of like a black tie affair. Everyone's looking nice. There's like wine and cheese and all this shit, right? And he's there and he's doing his thing. And they got a little stage set up. And so you see him at one point, he's like off to the side. Mel Boogie's there and she's helping him pump out CDs and shit. And someone comes over before his set and goes, "Hey, yo, Maestro, you going to do Backbone?"
Yeah.
And without lifting his and he's signing, and without lifting his head, he's like, "What you think?"
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like, is he gonna do? Yeah, you're gonna do Backbone set? No, come on.
What you think?
What you think? No, I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna read a chapter from my favorite book.
Yeah.
Thought I'd do some spoken word.
No, he was gonna do Let's Ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna flip it up. I'm gonna do Bacardi Slam tonight.
Another thing that popped in my head, and this is sort of going back to what we were talking about earlier with like just the phenomenal amount of resource that's available to people, and whether they choose to or choose not to look it up. Um, and this is going to start to creep into the wrestling side of your brain, okay?
Okay.
Uh, the son of Ice Cube, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Hollywood actor, successful, busy man, huge wrestling fan, huge.
Hmm.
And lately, O'Shea Jackson Jr. has become known on Twitter or X as being um, a complete asshole to a whole group of wrestling fans that love AEW,
I think I saw
which
this
is
on the line there. Yeah.
which is a rival wrestling company to WWE. And he'll put stuff on Twitter. He'll be like, "Yo, who's this old Japanese man Edge is fighting?" And instead of people coming and going, "Oh, that's Minoru Suzuki, he's a legend from blah 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 blah," they go, "Fuck you! You're not a real wrestling fan. You fucking fake. You're a fucking sellout. You fucking bitch. Fuck you. You're and they just go in. And of course, O'Shea Jackson Jr. He just goes right back at them. So,
uh,
but I look at this and I go, okay, I kind of sound like a hypocrite because on one hand, I'm like, hey, if you're a fan of something and you want to go and do the research, then you have the resources available. But at the same time, if I said to you, hey, Shocks, I never heard any Socrates music. Now I have, but if I never heard any Socrates, can you recommend something I check out? You're not going to be like, yo, fuck you, Donnie. You don't know hip hop. Fuck you, man. You'd be like, yeah, man, listen, here's an album you could check. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it's so funny to me, and I don't know if that's a toxic wrestling fan thing, if it's a community gatekeeping thing where people are like, you can't come into our world. Like, do you see that happening in not just
Uh,
wrestling but music?
Sometimes in music, I think it's more of a comic book guy thing. Like it's not like super authentic to like how they see it. Then it's yeah, because if somebody like I have friends that well, here's the easiest thing: Super Bowl. People just will go and watch or football on Thanksgiving when everybody comes together. They don't really watch football. They know they're whoever in their family's into it. The family's all together. They're all going to be there. Some of them go to watch the halftime show. They really don't care until the fourth quarter. If it's a close game, they're like, oh, they caught it. Like they know what's going on and they can count yards and everything like that. But then you kind of educate them and then be like, because it's supposed to be entertaining at the same time. So if I go to like a rock band show that I don't know, and I'm like, oh man, this is a good song. What song is this? Yeah, if you turn around and be like, oh, why are you even here? Because I'd be like, I might just like these guys. That's how I ended up liking Rage Against the Machine. Sox was like, when it first came out, we were driving around in the car and it's like, yo, did you hear this band? I was like, no. And then the first two songs he put in was In the Name of, and then the other one that they have.
In the Name of.
And the other big one from way back then. But Killing in the Name of.
There's a
and
few.
yeah.
Track.
I can't remember. I'd have to look
There's
at it. I know it by the title, but I can't remember. But that's how I got into Rage Against the Machine. So somebody
I'm telling you right now, I think we just found Choclair's new YouTube bit. All right. We're going to put headphones on him and Choclair listens to like metal bands for the first time ever.
Hey, I like it, man, because the thing is the coordination that you have to do the drums of all the things you have to hit, the guitars, how you play the things, all that stuff. Like, I love the guitars because, like, I know there's a whole bunch of bigger names and probably other people out, but I always say people forget like how great of a guitar player Prince was. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because he had so much other going around, but like if you just sit there and listen to it, clear ones like Slash and other people like that, and just bands that I don't even know who the guitarist is. I'm just hearing the guitar play and I'm like, oh, this is dope. Like, this is dope. So yeah, but going back to that point, it's like, I saw that thing and they're like, oh, you don't know wrestling. It's like, well, then show them, because I don't know a lot of the AEW guys either, except for the ones that go over from WWE. Or they stick out like that MJF guy or whatever. I don't even know his whole stick. I just know he's big enough that I started to see him. So yeah, just be like, oh, this is this guy, and that's whatever. And because next time it's just on TV, you might be like, oh, that's that. I don't know. That's that Kofi Kingston guy that I watched him the other day. He stays on his hands to not fall out of the ring at Royal Rumble. Like he's really athletic. Let's see what he does this time. Like that's how you get people into it.
Gatekeeping fans always make me fucking laugh. And like AEW fans are their own breed of animal. They're different than regular wrestling fans because they're like, they feel like they're insulated, right? They hate WWE, but they love their shit. And if you
Yeah.
don't like their shit, then you're an idiot. And it kind of reminds me of this whole internet explosion that happened this week. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you're a music guy. Um, Country music fans have lost their fucking minds, Shocks, because
Okay.
Beyonce went and made a country album, and
Yeah.
her first single dropped this week, and it's good. Like I'm sitting here, I'm line dancing, and I'm going to some Beyonce.
Is that how they
And
do the
you
line
go,
dance?
oh
Not
yeah,
the remix of the
yeah.
line dance.
Well, you can only see from here up. That's all you get.
Okay.
But if I'm watching people and like the dance for her song Texas Hold'em, it's gone viral. People are doing it everywhere. And then you look in comments, man, and it's like it's tasty, bittersweet tears. And you see these people, that's not country. Fuck this shit. She can't do country. She's a city bitch. Fuck this. Stay the fuck out of country. I saw John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard, Bo Duke,
Oh, really?
coming out, and he's like, yeah, these liberals, they got to come in and piss all over our stuff and mark their territory. Get the fuck out of here. This is country music. I know about country music. I made country music. You know, it's one thing for someone like Shania to do country and then move into rock. You can't go the other way. You can't go from somewhere else and come to country. You're not country. It's like,
See,
what the fuck are we talking about?
and they get mad when the country goes into pop, but if the pop goes into country, they get mad because if that's why that's probably why they're really pissed, because Taylor Swift is the big thing now, and now you have Beyonce getting it, like, so Taylor Swift infiltrated or changed over, or just it's pop. She's always been pop with a hit of country, but Beyonce has always been pop. And now she's in the country, and they're like, well, we lost Taylor Swift. Were we taking Beyonce? No, this stuff, it's getting all these liberals are coming everywhere. They're grabbing all of our artists.
But new country is pop.
Yeah,
like, let's
exactly.
not get it twisted. New country is pop. It's the same. It's just done with a twang. That's it. It's just done with a twang. I don't understand. Like, listen, if you were to tell me that Beyonce's coming out and doing like some Hank Williams or some Willie Nelson vibe or some old Dolly Parton stuff or whatever, cool. But you know what I mean? But she's doing her stuff with a slide guitar. That's it. At the end of the day, shouldn't it be about the artist doing what they want with their own freaking art?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because now it's like, this is our art. Now what's going to happen now is Andre 3000, all the Philharmonics are going to get mad at him because his album was a fluke. Nah, that's not real flute.
Listen, don't start. Listen, I was pissed. I was fucking pissed, Chuck. All right, because I, for one, was looking forward to this. You hear the hype about it. Andre's got a new album coming out, and you're like, dope. And you stay up for 3 days, and you get into a lineup at the store, and finally this thing drops, and you hit play, and you're like, well, this is going to put me to sleep real fucking quick.
Music to sleep to.
It's like the rain.
Are the country music fans mad because she comes from pop, or are they mad because she's black?
I think there's a combination of it, because, you know, like, because I think even like it's not so much now, but like when 70s rock was there and then grunge started coming in, and it was like, you know, it was like almost like a slice of what was going on in the 70s, and then Depeche Mode and bands like that kind of changed it around in the 80s, and then the harder rock bands came, but it wasn't quite, and then that's when you started getting classic rock radio compared to like new rock, you know, like, so I think the fact that it came from pop, and she was just a pop artist, and she's like probably one of the biggest. There's a lot of reasons to be jealous of her. She's with the biggest artists in the world. She's married to the other biggest artist in the world. She's like billions and billions of dollars. Everybody loves her. You attack her online, then the beehive comes after everybody else. Like, she's loved by everybody. So if you are just a little insecure about that, you're already going to be like, oh gosh, Beyonce again, huh? Like, hear people say that and be like, yeah, I don't like that Beyonce, you know, that Illuminati girl and stuff, like, you know. And I'm just like, oh, come on, just doing music, like, just leave it alone. And so I think it's that, and then also there is some tradition of that, like it's the country in the South and everything like that. Like there's all that stuff is there, So I can't tell you what the percentages of it all is, but I think there's a bit of both. And there's jealousy, there's jealousy of her fame, the fact that she does pop music, and probably because the color of her skin, and they're like, oh, we can't. Like, look, they got the other reasons they got mad at Lil Nas X. He's black, he's gay, and he does country. Oh my gosh, somebody's head blew up in the place.
That's
Like, it was like,
trifecta.
Wait,
You
what?
can't do that.
He's gay?
Little Nas X. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was about to say, you did that really good. I was about to be like, what?
You know what it is? The rednecks are mad, Shocks, because Beyonce went and created this viral TikTok, and it's a little bit of step dance with too much rhythm, and they can't keep up. These rhythmless old white dudes, they can't keep up, and they're like, God damn it, she made it hard. I don't like this. That's what's going on. You said something on this show almost 4 years ago, back on episode 9, that I have quoted in multiple interviews since then. And you kind of referenced it a second ago when you talked about how, you and I were the same age. Tid's much, much, much older. But when we were kids, we grew up listening to everything.
Yeah.
Because you turn on the radio and you had access to everything, right? So, like, yeah, you're going to hear Def Leppard. You're going to hear Run DMC. If you're lucky, you're going to hear some some Depeche Mode. You're going to hear some Jefferson Air, like whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you were hearing everything because we were inundated. Now the world has become so niche. Everything is so niche. Like, even within a genre of music, there's a dozen subgenres, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, no, I like trip hop. I like trip hop. That's what I like.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So it's
I
crazy.
only listen to drill rap.
Drill rap. Yeah, just drill rap now. Yeah.
I only listen to drill rap from the southeast block of Kansas City. Like, what are we doing here?
That's right.
It's just funny how things have become so niche, and you had to figure there was going to become a breaking point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And about a month ago or so on this show, I said to Tid, and this is before Beyonce's album, I said, holy shit, I like country music. First time in my life. I've been listening to nothing but Jelly Roll. I'm a Jelly Roll stan all of a sudden, right? Like, his lyrics, they hit me hard. I dig his vibe. I like him as a person. I think he's cool as shit. And all of a sudden, bro, I'm in the car. I'm listening to Jelly Roll on loop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I'm listening to I'm like, holy shit, I'm listening to the Queen Bee doing country, Texas Hold'em. I like country. That was one of the things I never listened to when I was a kid, because that wasn't pop music when we were kids.
Right.
Everything else was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it takes to break down those music barriers? Is more and more of these huge artists that just cross the lines into different places to play, different audiences?
I think, yeah, because in like it almost kind of switched up in like the 90s at first, because at that point I remember even hip hop guys were like, oh, we're not R&B, we're hip hop, like, and
right.
And then but then the Puff Daddies came in, and the Father MCs and all these guys started doing
Father
remixes.
MC, that's a good pull.
Yeah, with, songs with Jodeci, and Mary J. Blige is with Smith and Wesson, and then all of a sudden you're seeing Public Enemy with Anthrax and everything. So even though they were in the same type of thing, but then again, Rage Against Machine, Rage Against Machine kind of was rap, sort of rock, that type of stuff. So like in the 90s, everybody was like, hip hop was one thing, and rock was one thing, and dance music was one thing, and pop was like, Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, all that stuff. Then all of a sudden, Justin Timberlake says, yeah, I like hip hop, let me try and do a song with Nelly. So they do Girlfriend, stuff like that starts happening. So then now you have the new Kid NSYNC fans doing songs with liking songs from Nelly, and now everybody starts meshing, and that's where you start getting Limp Bizkit with Method Man, Korn, with these guys.
Typically when that happens, what you see is the Nelly fans are like, fuck Nelly, he sold out. right?
Well, it depends because Nelly wasn't as hardcore like an MOP. He was already with down, down, baby. Even though if you listen to the words with it, it's like pulling out the AK, zoom, zoom, and let it go. Like he's talking about shooting up a block in the whole song. That's what he's saying. If they, because they always play they play the clean version. You listen to the uncensored version. He's talking some stuff. But I think at that point, when everybody started meshing, all these fans started going back into their corners. They're like, no, I like this type of hip hop, like I like the EPMDs, the Big Daddy Kanes. I don't like this Ja Rule. And, every once in a while, someone would come around, like, 50 Cent came out and everybody really loved them. DMX, when everybody really loved them. But then 50 Cent started doing Ja Rule stuff when he took them out. And, and all these things started meshing. So then within the cultures, and this is just not for hip hop, because everybody was mixing music at this point. So people started paring down and be like, well, I like old school rap. I'm a 90s rap guy, or I'm a old school rock guy, or this. And then even though other people are mixing and meshing, they're doing like, oh, but I like jungle music. So I'm going to make this type of music, or, and then that's where music started changing and everybody started falling back into their corners. I think that's what started happening. But when these things start going on, like when you have big time artists like, like when Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Swift did a song together,
right?
Even though she's on it and she's doing her pop thing, but it leaned harder than what she normally did, and stuff like that. And Beyonce started doing it. She came off of Destiny's Child and started getting more core. Like I guess once she got with Jay-Z and started doing Crazy in Love, like her music changed. She wasn't like bootylicious, oh bootylicious. She wasn't doing that anymore. She's like, come here, like all aggressive on the songs and everything like that, and the type of songs that she's doing. So I think that's just part of it. It's just because music is meshing so much, and the majority of people love it. But the people that are like fundamental music of that genre, they either scale back, and the creative people stay here, the most creative and popular here. But other people are like, I don't like that stuff. Like all I listen to is De La Soul from 1994. Like that's my era. And I love that too, right? But I also love everything around that. I think that's why it changed a bit, and where people scale around and it boxes people out.
And we don't know what's popular in another country all the time. You know what I mean? Like we don't know about the music scene in Spain, or we don't, because living in Canada or whatever, we don't know about the music scene in Mexico for that matter, right? And so then you get the opportunity to do a bunch of a bunch of features on songs. You just did one last year, apparently, right? With a very, I listened to it, a song called Bon Voyage.
Right? Oh yeah, with Tierra.
Right, with Tierra. I listened to it, and this is what I'm thinking. I'm like, this is going to be played in every single resort all across the Caribbean. Like, and you're never going to hear this in North America for the most part. You know what I mean? Unless that's your music that you tune into. But this is going to get so much more play that we just don't know about. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, look at like there's an artist, Fito Blanco. Like you don't really hear his music over here that much, but he's all over the place. And then you look at Snow. He did the remix with Daddy Yankee, and he's all the time over in Puerto Rico, but like you don't hear it that much unless you're listening to like a mixed show, like like the live drive at 5 with starting from scratch or something like that, and you're in the car. And then nowadays people aren't really listening to radio like that, because they just put on their Spotify, or they might put on the radio because they want to see the traffic and stuff like that, listen for traffic and weather or something. But for the most part, like these songs could be huge. Kanan, I'm forgetting what his song was called back in the day, and his song was on the World Cup. Waving Flags. That was on the World Cup a few years back. I think he just won a Grammy this year that just passed. And you don't even know what he's doing. Like, what is it? It
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like, your art will be the art, and people will take to it. And I believe in, I like that song with Bon Voyage. That song is going to be like in resorts. It's going to be like everywhere. And people just not know, like exactly, they'll be like, oh, I haven't heard this in a while, or I haven't heard this song. What's Choclair song? I went to Europe when Thong Song came out, when it first came out. and me and Solitaire and all of us went to the club. There was 15 different mixes of thong song, and they played them all that night. There was a dance mixing, the drum and bass mix, the regular mix. Like that song played like, but it was the most popular song at the time. But that song played like every 7 minutes, and it was a different version. So I only know the one.
When Tid talks about we don't know what's popular elsewhere, it reminds me again. I'm going to cross over. It reminds me to a few years ago at WrestleMania when out came Bad Bunny, and people were like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And people got all
Yeah,
toxic, and it's like, "Oh, wait a minute." That's when I started doing because I wasn't familiar with Bunny, and I did my research. I'm like, "Oh, he's the most downloaded guy on Spotify.
yeah.
He's the best selling artist in American history that doesn't sing in English ever." Like, what? This guy is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people like getting him as part of WWE. I don't think a lot of fans realize how big it was. Like, it was gigantic because he is such a mega star, and it just happens that he's a massive wrestling fan.
And
Um,
he
and
was
speak,
also, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say it.
go.
Even in that too, look what the WWE did. They put a pay-per-view in Puerto
In Puerto
Rico,
Rico,
and then brought
yeah,
all the Puerto Rico, brought Carlito back. Brought all the stars from Puerto Rico there. Bad Bunny was there, and the crowd went bananas.
what a monster show that was.
Yeah,
Um, Speaking of WrestleMania, we are on the road to WrestleMania, as you know, because you're a WrestleHead. So,
yeah.
are you Team Cody Crybaby or are you Team Rock?
I'm Team Bloodline all the way. I want them to actually. I want them to actually. Something happens. Something should happen. Um, and the Bloodline comes in. Oh, this is what should happen. Cody Rhodes should get mad at Jay because they were friends and he brought him in. And something's going to happen with some kind of whatever. I don't know, some type of kerfuffle. And the
Okay.
Bloodline should come and defend Jay. And he comes and he runs with the family because remember, Rock was supposed to fight Roman Reigns. And then Cody Rhodes came out and started talking some smack. And Rock was just like, yo. And I think that was a shoot slap because he slapped him pretty good. And everybody seemed pretty genuinely upset. But I don't know, I think maybe they could just act really well. But they seem pretty like, you don't do that type stuff.
The fact that you don't know is what makes it amazing.
Yeah, that makes it amazing. And so that's what I think, because when they did, I don't know if you saw the show where they were doing the slap show when they put the family tree. That's hugely impressive, and to have just Jay just straggling around over there by himself. He could still be solo because he's on on Raw, and those guys are on SmackDown.
Right.
But like, I would love to see them, The Rock and the Bloodline, Rikishi just jump like the whole oos. That would be, and then I don't know who he's going to get on his side. Get Cody and Dustin. If his dad was still alive, rest in peace, that would have been dope too. But then got the family. I don't know. Maybe the Funk family comes in, the Ortons. You know what I mean? Like, they're like true traditional wrestling families that rest. That I think I was going to do it. And I was going to bring, and I want to go in. I was going to watch WrestleMania. I was telling Danny, you should come and watch it at this place called Free Play Toronto. I'm going to go watch it there. And then I was like, and I would take pictures and whatever and be like, yeah, we're watching WrestleMania thing. And then Money in the Bank is in Toronto. And I was like, yo, I'll grab the tickets and sit front row. It will be right there, like in the front row. Make sure we get camera time and everything like that. I just go front row. And because he tells me all the time, he's like, yo, that lyric, that propelled me so much. Everybody comes up, me and Daddy, I watch a Raw, I like chilling Monday Night Raw watch it. Me and Daddy, at the Sky Dome when it's in town. He's like, that's my
town, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, that's my iconic line for me. And he's like, I've got a lot of jobs off that. Like, oh, you're the Daddy. Yeah. So yeah, I figured we could.
You know, many people have said that the light-skinned dude from Rascals, they thought that was Dan in the Northern Touch video.
Oh, really? Oh man,
Why wasn't Danny O in there?
See, that's what we would be like. Oh man, you don't know nothing. You're not into rap. What are you talking about? Oh, no.
And Danny O's way lighter than that guy.
Yeah, I'm Lou Gossett Jr.
If you're doing a WrestleMania flex, I need to know about this. Okay, so like we gotta make this happen.
Yeah.
Everyone, here's the best part about this Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns bloodline thing is there is literally a dozen different ways they can take this story, and everyone's talking about it. And that's why it's so goddamn compelling, right? They haven't officially announced it yet, but the rumor that's out there is The Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth on night 1 of WrestleMania, Cody versus Roman on night 2 of WrestleMania. That's the story that's going around. Now, if that happens that way, Seth could fuck over Cody because they've had their beef in the past.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
and if Cody loses the match the next night against Roman, he walks into a natural program with Seth for his belt. And if he beats Roman for the belt, he still has a natural program with Seth that he can do, right?
Right.
If everyone's saying, oh, The Rock is going to screw over Roman. That's why he whispered to him on SmackDown to Cody. He's going to screw over Roman Reigns and he's going to help Cody win and finish the story. I think people are thinking too small.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get a full year of the bloodline, of the super bloodline with the two-headed monster of Rock and Roman. I think you're going to get a full year. And then around Royal Rumble next year, they're going to have a split. And then you're going to get Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania 41 with story and beef and heat. That's what I think is going to happen.
That's interesting, but I don't know if it's going to last a year because I'm going to assume Rock is going to get busy
for 3 years.
Yeah, I think what should happen is, on the second night. Actually, I would prefer it on the first night, just because I've become more accustomed with it being on Saturday nights for some reason. I just like it better for some reason, for whatever reason. I'm like Saturday.
Go to bed on Sunday.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just so, and instead of having to go out to a party and jam, I just buy some beer, stay home, roll one up, and just watch and talk to the TV. I think what it should be is like, so you have Roman and Rock against Seth and Cody. The titles are, if Rock and Roman win, then the belt goes to The Rock. If Seth and Cody win, the belt goes to Cody. And then now you have these two things, and then you could do the same thing you're saying, Rock against Cody right there. And then Roman can, there's a bunch of other people, not Rock against Cody, sorry, Roman against Cody to get his title back. And then you can have Seth, and there's a whole heap of other people that The Rock doesn't have to mess with. But he could still be part of the super bloodline and come out and do, like every super pay-per-view. But then Cody can go up against anybody. Because Cody can go up, or Seth can go up against anybody. Sorry, Seth can go up against anybody.
But the beautiful thing is the way that they're weaving the story. It is the most compelling TV they've done since the Attitude days.
Yeah,
they are doing multi-pronged stories that have so many different layers, and part of the beauty of it now is Brian Gewirtz, who's been The Rock's personal writer for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's lockstep with The Rock on all of this. He's writing all this shit. He's there, and he made a comment recently in an interview where he said, this story right now does not end at WrestleMania. This is chapter 1 of a whole new book, which is why I think this is going to last a long time. So
I just don't want them to break. I want them to keep the bloodline together because they always break up. They always break up good factions. They
will. They'll keep them together for quite some time, and they'll even bring in. You're going to see new people join. I think Jacob Fatu is a free agent for one. I think you see him join up. I think you see the bloodline. Pardon me as I die over here. I think you see the bloodline have all of the belts at one time. I think that they have everything and they're running roughshod over everybody. And then what I think happens is they lose the belts because of some kind of screw up, because you don't need to have the fight between Roman and The Rock in a year's time. You don't need to have a belt involved for that because they'll build the story of the family and that'll be the story, right? Then Cody can finish his story, supposedly. I don't think it happens at WrestleMania. I think that Cody's story should finish finish at Madison Square Gardens, because if we're talking about it, that's where his dad's story ended. So that's where Cody's story should like end up pulling that one off, right?
Bubba Ray Tidwell over here.
What's that?
You're Bubba Ray Tidwell. That's been Bubba Ray Dudley's mantra for the last 2 months. He has to finish the story at Madison Square Garden. He has to finish it at Madison Square Garden.
It's a great idea. And if we're talking about story, it doesn't have to happen even this year. But I think that if we're talking about historical reference, absolutely, that's a cool place. But I don't think for a second that this story, Cody's story, is over at WrestleMania. No, because then what do you do? No, I think you keep the fans around.
Shouldn't he get at least, because the step up, shouldn't he at least get the Intercontinental? Because that's where they could stretch it. Because he hasn't had the Intercontinental champion since he came back. So get that. And then
he's got to win. Yeah. No, he's got to win Roman's belt at WrestleMania, or he no longer has any credibility as a babyface. I'm telling you, he's got to win it at WrestleMania.
Supposes he loses it. He loses it, but not fair.
Nah, he can't. That was last year. You can't repeat it. You can't. You got to do a remix. You got to change.
What do you mean?
Up.
They saw that last year. You saw the same thing at last year's Royal Rumble too. He just won Rumble 2 years in a row.
Nah, wait, but didn't Cody win against Seth fair and square all 3 matches?
Yeah.
But see, this is where he loses, but he's supposed to win, but he gets roughed up by the blood and he loses. So he legitimately should have won. But because if he worked
against Seth, but I think it's going to be one-on-one with Roman. He's going to win the goddamn thing. And then we can see the seeds start to fall in terms of the dissension and the power struggle. And it's a year-long struggle between the high chief and the tribal chief. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. The fall of the Roman Empire.
Here's the beautiful thing. None of us know. None of us know, but we're all intrigued. I think you know what we should do, because there is this other show called Live Audio Wrestling. I think we need to have a big roundtable show. Have a big roundtable show over there sometime. Have Choclair over on that show. Donnie on there. Absolutely. And that's all we do is just talk wrestling as we get closer to WrestleMania. Absolutely.
For sure.
We'll do a live broadcast on WrestleMania. We'll do that. Let's just go with that.
Actually, what I was trying to do too is that free play, because my birthday's on the 27th of March. I think WrestleMania is on the April 4th. So because I have the Sportsnet Plus, so I haven't subscribed to it, I could just subscribe it to all the TVs there, have it during at evening time. I come watch WrestleMania with Choclair on his birthday type thing. And they have all the old school games there and everything like that and all this other stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I have to talk to the guy about it, but yeah, I don't know. I have to figure out the legalities if I could just go and put my Sportsnet Plus on all his TVs and everybody can just watch it off my subscription.
I don't think you can, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out that's not going to get the party shut down. But you know what? If this party's happening, we're going to be there. Choclair, listen, man, you've been wicked with your time. It's been so much fun. Let's not wait 4 years to do this again. Okay. This is
absolutely,
you're a lot of fun to kick it with. Listen, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to see what you're up to, where should they look you up online?
Online, you can look me up at Choclair Official for Instagram, Choclair Chisnak on Facebook, Choclair on Facebook, and Choclair on Twitter, and Choclair Official on YouTube to check out all the stuff that we post up. And I'm very interactive. So hit me up, see what I'm up to. I might be in a city near you real soon.
It is very interactive. Like I get responses more often from Santa than I do from Maestro, but Shocks gets back at me.
Santa, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, Santa gets at me. He'd be like, "What can I do for you?" And Maestro just leaves me on red.
Oh man.
Listen, thank you so much, bro, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
All right, guys. You guys have a great one. Thanks for having me on, and everybody out there. One love. See you soon. Wrestling. Check for it.
It's the Naka, the Chizraka. That is Choclair, everybody. Notorious TID, Chris Tidwell. Anything you want to throw out there before we wrap this bitch up?
No, it's been a fantastic night, and I just I'm I'm looking forward to this WrestleMania thing. I'm hyped again. I'm hyped about it all over again. Right?
It's like for years you had to be a wrestling fan on the down low because it was so bad.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, it's fun again.
Listen, I'm telling you, we do this roundtable thing. We have him on there. It'll be a lot of fun.
We should do it.
All right.
You can check out everything Tid is up to on YouTube over at Tid Talk, or check out Live Audio Wrestling. You can also check out the segment I'm doing for him called Truth Bombs, where I just talk shit for a couple minutes about wrestling.
It's fantastic.
If you want to have your say, email us info@godfathersofpodcasting.com. Follow us on socials at Godfathers of Podcasting. You can follow us independently at Notorious TID on everything. I'm at Donnie Da Silva. So, you find us. We're out there. Just come look us up, okay?
Google it.
Yeah, I've probably got a MySpace still. Find me on MySpace, motherfucker.
Please.
That's Tid. I'm Donnie. We'll see you next time.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.